Welcome, patrons. It's been a while, so let's jump back to our series on the old gods. We only have 3 left in the series, so let's go over the only other old god still to be sleeping in the deep, Lusacan. The old god. Lusacan was known as the Dragon of Night in Tevinter. And after that, there is honestly very little we know about him and how he was worshipped in Tevinter. Like the other old gods, one of his high priests tried to break into the Golden City, taking the pseudonym the Watchman of Night, or so the Chant of Light tells us. There's also a mall in Dragon Age Inquisition that has this description. Lusacan, the Dragon of Night, calls to you. He lives where it is darkest and waits for the day he will rise. Drink of his blood and know the power in darkness. Either fear the night or wield it. And minus one thing I'm holding to the end of this section, that's all the game really tells us about this old god. But he does play a more prominent role in the Dragon Age role-playing game tabletop set. In the pre-made adventures called The Autumn Falls, which centers around players fighting in a grand tourney, the players can come into contact with a cult that still worships Lusacan. Per the Dragon Age role-playing game, as a further and separate complication, there are cults throughout Thedas that still dedicate themselves to the old gods of the Tevinter Imperium. These cults hold a special hatred for Navarrans for their prowess at slaying dragons. The whisper that one of the cult's gods is once again active in the world has moved several long secret groups to motion, including a devious and terrible sect known as the Last Moon. The Last Moon follows an apocalyptic creed that compels them to seek the means to bring about a dreadful battle that will blanket all of Thedas in a night that will never end, a pleasing offering to their patron god Lusacan, the Dragon of Night. The massive gathering of the Last Moon's enemies, Navarrans and Chantry heretics alike, for the Grand Tourney affords a unique opportunity to spread suspicion and strife while simultaneously destroying as many foes as possible in one devastating strike. They plan to blow up the Grand Tourney's central arena using stolen Canary Gatlock, that is firepower, at the beginning of the climactic final battle of the Autumn Falls, when the entire edifice will be filled to capacity and beyond. Unless the PC stop them, that is. During the adventure, you learn that the cult has been sacrificing random people in Cumberland and now at Dorf and Orzammar, all in the way that records show venerates Lusacan, and it's your goal to stop them. The assassins from this cult also utter the phrase, "till the night covers all," and uses a stylized crescent as their symbol. And from that, that's all the Dragon Age role-playing game set really says about the cult, other than that they are still around after the players defeat the group that tried to bomb the Grand Tourney. So, in theory, this is still a cult that is around in Thedas. And let's jump back to that one piece I was holding to the very end here. Like all the other old gods, there is a constellation associated with him. This one is called Tenebrium, or Shadow to the common people. The writer of the Codex entry notes that it's odd that the constellation has always been of an owl rather than a dragon, and suggests that the constellation was originally meant to honor falon'din. Or, maybe as owls are a nocturnal animal and were seen as bad omens of loss in Tevinter, that's why it's an owl. But either way, this is one of the first times something that honors one of the old gods is connected to a specific elven one. So with that in mind, the theory. If you've been watching the rest of this series, you know there is a theory that the elven gods and the old gods are somehow connected. So who would Lusacan be connected to? falon'din. I mean, honestly, it's practically handed to us. But other than that, I can't say I have too much of a solid connection to the two. I guess night and death could be connected, and Lusacan's cult sure wanted to kill a lot of people. Although granted, that's probably most cults. falon'din is also called Earthman Shadow in some ancient texts, which is likely why the constellation has the name Shadow. But let's pretend for a moment that this wasn't handed to us, or perhaps that maybe this is even wrong, because that's been known to happen. So what then? Mythal. Before the constellation, I would have honestly guessed Mythal. Why? Well, she is connected to the moon in elven society. But I would like to add that most theories of this nature leave out Mythal and Fen'Harel, as we know they are not locked up. And that, dear patrons, is all that we know on Lusacan. If you still have lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong, comments about your own fan theory, feel free to tweet me at @Akilodathon on Twitter or send a PM to user Gillanon on Reddit. The rest are all.